Gaeilge Weekly number 77. Iver a seachtó seacht. Hope you guys are all doing well. Tásúlagam gohfuil siv galéir ag déanamh gama and that everything is going all good this week. Will ruddy ag dul gama an seachtain seo. I am here in Seville as always. Tá mission seo is Seville working on a lot of different things. This week it's Tuesday as a record, so to make upper a long ruddy difriúla an seachtain seo inniu de Mórch agus mise ag taifeadú, getting especially a lot of things ready for Black Friday and for Christmas as well. So ag fáil a long ruddy ray le Black Friday. No, Ina war na siopadorachta. That's apparently the official translation, the big Friday of shopping, but I'm not too sure will that translation be that popular or take off. Nimi Kinsa on my clue agus call an astrichan shin satauki in the future. But again, a lot of things ready for the end of the year to make fall ray a long ruddy zifrula lahaid Sarah na blina, and kind of making me think about how little there is left of the year as well. Tá sé a churig smoin of May kick of biog agus atá an chuid eile tin bhlín atá fáca agin, how small the kind of rest of the year is and how little there is left. I mean, again, seachtain by Mulligan, Hannafin. So in 4 weeks, the Christmas will be here already. And in 5 weeks, we'll already be in 2025. Again, cuaig seachtain no heart or cuaig seachtain. Gavila is fake cuaig of I am. So I know the last few weeks of the year always fly by anyway. Saying an cúpla seachtain déirnach sa bhlín tin siad go handpapi very fast arenos. And looking forward to going back home to Ireland as well for a week or so or a few days at Christmas. Tá mig súil le dul rash gohéireann fa cúpla lá no seachtain heart nullig, you know, as I say often on the podcast, mar bhíonn mé ag labhairt faoi go minic an bud craile. I normally go back 3 times during the year. Take an odd same rash 3 or I rit na blina. Once in April or seachtain one mi Ibran. Normally the week after Easter week, take an seachtain taréis na chosca. And then I go again in September for a week, take an odd same fa seachtainna mi bhionfóver, maybe 5 or 6 days, cuaig lá no sé lá in September, mi bhionfóver, and then of course back for a few days at Christmas, take an arás fa cúpla lá hart nullig. And normally I have to say I prefer going back in April and September. Take an that níon sé wadnís mólam dul rash in mi Ibran agus mi bhionfóver, because it's brighter, the days are longer, so tá sin níos gile. Tá na leichen tá níos fuide freshen, and normally when I go back the weather tends to be good for whatever reason. Take an nuair a héim rash being the Limeshire go jazz ní mé cinn sé cén fá ach bíonn sé. So Christmas often I am too keen on going back orintha leis an nullig níl fun orm dul rash no níl mór an fun orm dul rash, because you know it's dark, often the weather isn't that good that time of year. Tá sé dúrcha níl Limeshire ó yas ag an am sin gen bhlín. There's a lot kind of going on, you know, you've Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and I just prefer going back and having a quiet week. It's málam dul rash agus just seachtain ciún a bheith agam in mi iPod no mi bhionfóver in April or September. But this year I'm actually quite looking forward to going back. In Mlína tá mé actually ag tanú le dul arás. It feels like I haven't been back in a long time. Mo híonn sé nach rá mé arás in an fada, but when I really look at it, it's only been 2 months or 2.5 months. Nuair smaoinim faoi nó nuair fécha méir in ná éire niseach gábhí nó gábhí go le ón óir dhearnach ará mé in éireann. And that's actually kind of the theme of the podcast today. Sin an téma inniu, an téma an bud craile seo. And that, I suppose, is Ireland and immigration as well. So éire agus an Imirce. I wanted to speak about something to do with Ireland this week. Bhí mé géirí labhairt faoi rud éigean maidir le mo here, my country, éire. On seachtain seo, because the election is on Friday. Tá an toghchan, an old toghchan on Ina. So the general election is on Friday. The first one we've had since before COVID, actually. It was a few weeks before COVID, the last one. So cúpla seachtain ribh COVID. Been an Ceann déarnach a bhí agin in Éireann, I think February 2020. I remember being there. I remember voting as equivalent of it, you know, fós imachónaí in Éireann ag an am. Agus as equivalent vote all freshen. I remember voting. And it's on this Friday, and I suppose it's a weird time in Ireland. It's an aisteach in Éireann. I'm not going to speak too much about politics or policies or who I would vote for, who I wouldn't vote for. Nímé an labhairt faoi policia nó an políocht go generalta agus céadaoin na géirí vótáilmh who I'd want to vote for agus mar sinse and so on. But I guess one thing I would like to talk about is a lot of the negativity in Ireland at the moment. A lot in dúltachas atá in Éireann faoi láthair, because in my lifetime anyway, and I was born in 2000, so it's not that long really, rugu Savlín Gavila me, so this are roada really, but in my lifetime I can't remember really a time where there was as much probably negativity in Ireland and doom and gloom, bar maybe the pandemic. Seachas beidir on pandéim tá sé deachar dom chuimhnú or a rudí chomh dúltach. And I'm not sure things actually that bad or that negative. Nimí cinsa rudí actually rochuna ro hiúltach. Nimí cinsa, I don't know, I'm not sure, because I don't live in Ireland anymore and I haven't lived in Ireland for a few years. Níl mé imachónaí in Éireann níos mó, agus ní raibh mé imachónaí in Éireann le cúpla bliain anuas. So I suppose people who are living there at the moment, especially young people living there, so daoine ó bhfuil na gcónaí in Éireann níos go háirithe daoine in a gcónaí in Éireann agus daoine óga in a gcónaí in Éireann, they kind of have more right to maybe talk about this than I do. Tá so it's níos mó cearta acúb chun labhairt faoi seo ná atá agam féin. But it does feel you're reading the news and talking to different people, different Irish friends here, Irish friends abroad in other countries. So ag léamh na nuachta, ag labhairt le cuairte difriúla, in áiteanna difriúla, cuairte an so is Seville, friends here in Seville, friends abroad in other places, cuairte haar lear in áiteanna eile. It does feel like there's a lot of negativity and kind of just a feeling that a lot of things in Ireland aren't going the way they should be going. Tá lánsáis dúltachas agus an mothúchan sin nach bhfuil rudaí dul I dro ma in there, and that things aren't going in a good direction. You know, if you look at the polls, for example, this week, the highest party, the party with the most support, they're only on 20% on Portsy. Le níos mó taithíocht ná aon Portsy eile, agus an Portsy is orta, sa polls, they only have 20%. Nílach fiche fan géad occupant. That probably tells a story in itself, regardless of what party that is. Is cuma cén party atá ann. The fact that no party has more than 20% support. You know, nach bhfuil níos mó ná fiche fan géad again 40. Maybe that shows that there's very little trust in anyone, in any of the politicians and in any of the parties at the moment. Nach bhfuil in winning ar churbe again in Ceann sa na Portsíthe. And I think a big part of that, you know, especially amongst young people, is how difficult it is for young people at the moment in Ireland. You know, Quid's war, ten sin agus Cúis war, of winning lei sin, a kind of big reason to do it at sin, kick off Jacker agus atá sé mar chuine óg in Éireann inis. And listen, I know it was always tough for young people in Ireland. Okay, maybe during the Celtic Tiger it might have been a bit easier. Beidir on Celtic Tiger, bhí sé beagnaí níos éasca, but even then it was very expensive during that time. Bhí sé an chosasach an ama sin. But going back to the 80s, a big recession. I mean, before the 80s, 2008 in the recession. So Gavil's hooked agus an cúlú economiachta. Then going back to the 80s, another recession and another big bust. In the 80s, cúlú economiachta sna hooktaí, a lot of unemployment, a lot of ostiacht, hart an am sin, a lot daoine ag dul Imirce, so a lot of people emigrating as well. And then you go back to the 60s, there are, you know, areas in the 60s in Dublin that were slums. You know, áiteanna I moille clia a na seacaidí agus fós slums a bhí antu. And a lot of poverty across the country, especially before EU membership. So a lá bochtanas fut na tíre go háirithe rih chuirteach an Aontas Eorpach, and also FDI and everything else. So FDI agus gacrad mar sin. Then before that, of course, just centuries essentially, especially post-famine, go háirithe tar éis an Gcuirte Mór, you know, an maids daoine a bhíar who fágáil na tíre, the amount of people that had to leave the country and the amount of people that never came back. An maids daoine nor hornig arash reef. Sometimes we're talking about Americans and Irish Americans or people who have Irish relatives or whatever, and it's easy to kind of dismiss that sometimes. Tá sean éasca just is sin YouTube agus gan le bheith ag smaoine faoi sin, but every single person you meet who has that, there's a story behind that. Tá scéal tíobh hirirte sin a chachtainna. Every single American you might meet who says, I'm 1/8 Irish or whatever, gach Americanic, a bhilm tú lo agus tearan siad, tá písa éarnach agams my Ceann ahar, my great-grandfather, bras churcaige. It's easy to dismiss that you're thinking about someone that was actually born and raised in Ireland, so tá sé éasca chun dearmadí anamh gohfuil muds ag leabhart sin faoi chuna rugu agus tógu in éireann iad, and then they had to leave in most cases, back in 1910, 1920 and 1930, whatever, needs like 10, needs like 5, needs like trucka. It's not like people are going, oh yeah, I might move to Spain for a few years, things look good out there, or I might move to America, get some more life experience. The way I'm dull, go America, agus níos mó taithí sail a bheith agam, no dul go sin Spáin, tá cum bhá in Spáin. No, people had to leave because there was no other option. Bhí ar chuoine an tír ágáil mar ní rá in rá eile. And same in terms of people who went to Britain, people who went to Australia, Canada, wherever daoine who go dtí an réictéinte, go Canada, go dtí an Austral, chuláts, everywhere really across the world. But of course those are the most common places that people went beneath lots and is cotíanta who in the Hernig. So I suppose the same thing is happening now. Now it is different. Listen, we've not gone through, my generation hasn't gone through the hardships that the previous generations had to go through. So Neil McLuhan Hain, Taréis Dul Streets, an Chrútán Céanna, a hui mar hapla ar Dishmahori, ar Shan Hishmahori, agus Scachlún eile, and every other kind of generation. But I'm someone who's emigrated, I suppose, within the lifetime of this government since the last election. So smisha Ceann san Adini. Well, Taréis Dul Imirce, ire an rialtas seo, and I don't really have any plans to move back, certainly not in the next kind of 5 years or so. Níl aon plan ná go really chun bogu ras sna cuaig bliana atá rowan arenos. And a lot of people, most of my friends, really close friends that I went to school with, an chuideas mód ma chórdsa, ma chlú a hui mé scollo. They're in the same situation. They don't live in Ireland anymore. Tá cost on scale cén acub níl siad in gcónaí in éireann faoi láthair. And I suppose it's because it's very tough as a young person to live in Ireland and create a good life for yourself in Ireland at the moment. Tá sé an sacr chun a bheith a chónaí in éireann agus sé an ma a chothú dit féin in éireann faoi láthair. A big part of it is money. Cuid's words a sin an targan and how crazily expensive things are in Ireland. Kick of costasach ar level crackalse agus atá ruddy in éireann. Obviously there's not just the issue of the price, but also the lack of housing. So ní bhaine say few leis an price ach freisin leis an aspetíochta in éireann, the lack of housing. If you think let's say I'm 24, for example, in Ireland, so in a lot of places that's kind of an age and long notch na sin hartar an ish that you would think about moving out, or really you'd think about moving out earlier. Maybe when you finish college or when you go to college, basically they're chréithníonn tú ar an old school, no, they're hain tú ar an old school don céad when you go to university for the first time. You think about moving out, feic tú smaoine faoi bogo amach ó gach de Hishmore from your parents' house. So 24, if anything, it's a bit older, but if you're 24 in Ireland now, but tusa curved línas fehadísh in éireann faoi láthair, like what are you going to do? What are your options? Cad atá tú chun zéanú céinteas roghanna atá agat? Because, okay, if you're working for a Google or Facebook or a big multinational company, maybe somewhere like Dublin, must really go to a gober and say na maile clia like Google, no Facebook, no eBay, no, ceann san na cólachtaí on the ward or náisiúnta seo. Okay, you might be okay in terms of making enough that you can rent a place out, rent a room, probably not in apartments, chun somer a chur a kís, ach ní bhaid tú an orasan a chur a kís, chance ma, good chance. And maybe you'll have enough to get a second-hand car, baids or gomai, the rohan arga jagat chun chor dar lava a cheannach. So you might have enough to buy one of those. But even then, you're talking probably about 8 or 9,000 euro, bits or 8 míle no 9 míle euro on cor dar lava a Ceannach to buy a second-hand car that has 100,000 K on it already, agus tá 1,000 kilometer gom leisgel an gcóir hána féin. So you even just think of trying to get a place to live, and even if you have the money, you might not be able to find somewhere, few mátá an target agat. Seans má nach mai tú an áit at all, agus nach mai tú an an seomra no oras an aimsú that you won't be able to find an apartment or a room. There's such a lack tá an méid sin aspa tíochta. So cheer. Hi guys, hope you won't mind me interrupting the podcast just for a minute. That is to give a bit of a big announcement that from Thursday, the 28th of November, so the day after this episode comes out, until the 2nd of December, so that is next Monday, all courses on learnirishonline.com are half price. So if you've been thinking of maybe buying, whether it might be the beginner's course or the comprehension course or the cheat sheet packs for yourself, tomorrow's the cheapest it's ever going to be until maybe next Black Friday next year. But it's going to be 50% off. Or if you're thinking of buying one of them as a Christmas present for someone, could make quite a good Christmas present. It's something different, saves you a trip into town, and can start a kind of lifelong journey of language learning for someone else. They're all over on learnirishonline.com, and if you have any questions about the courses or the contents of them, you can give me an email at liam.learnirishonline@gmail.com. The sale starts at midnight from Thursday the 28th, and will keep on going until the end of next Monday, Cyber Monday, the 2nd of December. Thank you very much. I think I understand it 110% why there's so many other people leaving. Tagann Gaeilge cén fá ó bhfuil an méid sin daoine ag fágáil. And this, by the way, isn't an anti-government thing. Ní rud in an réalta sé seo, nor is it even a kind of, Ireland's terrible, tá go húfásach. It's not that at all. I don't know what the solution is. Níl sagam cén chuí a réit theatre on eipeasóid. I don't know how this problem is solved. And I'm not saying it's way harder for my generation than previous generations. Ní mé grá go bhfuil sé i bhád níos deachra ná clúnaí eile, riven, before me. But I suppose the main thing and the main point is, as someone who has immigrated over the last few years, mar chuna atá tar éis dul Imirce le cúpla bliain anuas, there were so many reasons to leave. So many reasons to leave. You can speak about things that change over time. So tá an leabhar trí rudaí a bhí na gahrú a rint na blianta, mar hampla. For example, you can talk about housing. Well, maybe housing's very bad at the moment. In 5 years, it might be great. So tá an tíocht agus an aib tíocht the housing problem. It's very bad now. Tá sé húfásach níos. But maybe in 5 years' time, beidir ag gan cúg bliana, it'll be brilliant and it'll be fine. Beidir go mai sé tau. But you can also talk about other stuff in terms of, this is féidir le leabhar trí rudaí eile maidir le things to do in Ireland, rudaí le déanamh in Éireann. Things like the weather, rudaí cosú leis an aimsir, and maybe that seems like a bit shallow. Beidir bhfuil cuma beganín buí sin. But the weather is a massive thing. We all know the difference in between waking up in the middle of summer, in Lár an Tauirí, maybe in July, beidir in Miúil, and the difference between saying it being sunny outside and 25 degrees, nuair tá sé chuaigh chéim is fiche tíomh muo, agus tá greening taitneamh in comparison with I gcumpráid le. It's 12 degrees, it's rainy, it's cold, and it's going to be like that for the rest of the week. Tá sé fluch, scamalach, tá sé dhá chéim dhéag I rith an Tauirí, like 12 degrees during the summer, and you know it's going to be like that for next week. Tá is agat go mai sé cosú le sin ar feadh an chéad seachtain eile. So, I could list off a lot of things, but I don't want to turn this into a podcast. Ní mé géirí go leirion an podcréile seo cosú le podcréile about how bad Ireland is, cíoch donna agus atá éire mar níl sé, because it's not. I love Ireland. I love so many things about Ireland. It's even am éire, even am an méid sin rudaí faoi Éireann. But it's just much easier at this point to leave, to go somewhere else. Tá sé bhád níos éasca dul láit ag an eile. I know if you go to Australia, Canada, America, you need a lot of money saved up to even do that, and it's not available to everyone. Tá sagad má tá tú ag dul go an Austral, má tá tú ag dul go America, you need a lot of money. Tá lán airgid ag tastal wet agus níl sé le fáil nó ní féidir le gach duine if not everybody can do it. But, if you think of moving to Spain, for example, must they go to explain if you bugger could see in Spain? Because you're lumpsa like me. I mean, you pay, what, €50 for a flight? €1 the Netflix, but you're bugging small, maybe a tiny bit more. Don't really need any visas or papers or anything like that. There's a few things if you want to work in Spain, to couple road motto to Igiri of a gober and just a spawn, they can lead to sort out, which won't cost you more than maybe €100. Ní chos nóch sé sin, ní smó ná €100. You need to get an apartment here or a room. You can get a room in Seville, for example, for €250 against the month. So tatuan on Shulmer, Arenos, all on shot is Seville. gCéadaoin is €2 in Imirce, €250 per month. You could probably get an apartment here for about €700 a month. Tatuan on Dors an Hain, all your own apartments. €7 in Imirce. And that's it, you're sorted. You don't need a car. There's no point getting a car here. And if you a core of a agat an seo, well, for most people in most situations, Arenos, an chuid is mód a chuoine, níl core ag taslo where they don't need a car because the public transport is so good. Tá numper paibli cove machine. It's so easy to have these different bike services and city bikes, and they're so cheap. It's €30 for the full year. Ní chos níl sé ag €30 don líon umlan to have this, be part of this bike service where you can unlock a bike anywhere in the city and use it for half an hour. Tatuan rohor o oscailt éonáts fud na charrach agus úsáids fa lá or. And again, not saying all things are brilliant in Spain. There's a lot of things that work better in Ireland than Spain. Tá lán rudí agus Ibrian seed the wad níos fearr in Éireann, not in Spain. I don't have a Spanish job. I've my own job. Tá my first thing. Agam, even if you're working a Spanish job, you'll still make enough money that it works out much better than if you were working a normal job in Dublin. If you must rudig will post Spáinne agat, fós Ibrian say wad níos fearr, okay, níl tú ag tilla on maids Ceann arrogance, you're not making the same amount of money, but you're still making more really than you would be in Dublin. Tá tú ag tilla níos mó really, ná bailile clia, nó tá tú ag fáil níos mó as the fall. You're getting more for what your pay is on so a proj le bailile clia. And there's a reason why so many people are going, and it's because it is getting so tough at home. And people are saying this 5 years ago. Vidini ag lartri show cúg blino hin 10 years ago, definitely no hin. And it's only got worse and worse and worse. Nis gari nis massa, agus nis massa, agus nis massa. And I don't know, will it get better? Will it get worse? Ni me kinsa on the road she nis far, nis massa. I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue. How the election on Friday could really affect that. Neil Sagam and my ain sunker ag an tauchan sin. But for me, as someone who's Irish and who loves Ireland, I think I would have come abroad anyway, regardless of the issues at home. Ceapam go méich mé an seo sa Spáinne in Anion, gachrod atá siúil arás in Éireann, despite everything that's going on in Ireland. I think I would have been here regardless as come bheith mé an seo. But I suppose it's more something you think about in terms of the future. Beidir dumsugs misha Caribbean as I'm 24 years old. Yeah. Beidir go I make smuin of these mó fwy sin sa tauki. I'll be thinking more about that in the future, because although I'd be here regardless at the moment, in 5 or 10 years time, especially if I have a family, gian cúig blina no deimlína gohorithe má tá clán agam, I might be thinking, well, I would like to move back and raise my family in Ireland. Bóatlam dul arás agus ma clán ma fáistí a hógáil in Éireann. But at that point, I'll have to ask myself a question. Is it worth it on Fue? Because at that point, it may be a lot worse. And obviously, maybe I'll be lucky in terms of what age I am. There's people who left Ireland to go to Australia in 2010, for example. Tadini agus dagshid era hundul gaji an Austral I gavila is a jet. And they're probably having the same thing now. They're starting to have families. Beidr gwilsid ag tógáil clina an ish, and they're thinking I would love to go back, but since then the problem has only got worse. Tá an aib taréis ari a wadnis massa ó him. So at some point I might have that same decision to make, saying, okay, my plan was always to go back. Bhí an plan agam agóní on dollarás ag point again at some point, maybe when I'm 30 or whatever. Beidr in there tá strucha, no payrod. But in reality, it just might not be worth it, and I might just live out the rest of my days somewhere else. Beidr come me I chahabh an chuid eile de maléhananta áte an eile, like Spain, because eile an Spain or maybe some other country outside of Ireland. No beidir tír eile tíbhan way to Éireann. And listen, it's easy to focus on the negative sides of all this, and I'm not giving out because I love it here in Spain. I wouldn't change it for the world. It's even them. Constantá rudí sa Spáin, but I suppose it is sad that a lot of people in Ireland who are leaving, and I see it more and more every week, people putting up stories on Instagram, fechan níos mó gach seachtain daoine ag chuirsiú scéalta difriúla ar Instagram agus átainna difriúla ar na mian ho shield to different places on social media saying, oh, good luck to this person who's going off to Australia, or I'm moving to Canada next week. Agus they need gra old me bogu gotí an Astral an Tagann Gaeilge no godarí leis an duine seo ag dul go Canada, and a lot of those people aren't coming back, or they've no main plans to come back. No plan na achu on seachtarás go luath ar éineos to come back soon. It's not like maybe previously where people went out for a year or 2 years. People are going there to stay. Ní sé cosúla blionantó hin agus daoine ag dul ar blian the wall no cábhlín. Tá sé ag dul sin an bhannacht ar laid cuaig no te mlíana. So that's the way it's gone, and you know, it's just, what's the alternative? The alternative is in Ireland you have to make a lot of money to have any type of decent life. Caithfí tú a lá an airgid a hiile chun ein ná hail really if I got to have a kind of normal or decent life in Ireland. Factor dumps there, you know, so it seems to me it depends what your situation is, where you are, but really in Ireland, unless you're living in Dublin, you need a car to chóir ag tasla watch man bhfuil tú iad a chónaí in Moille Clia. Even then, a lot of people in Dublin still need a car. Man tá tú iad a chónaí in Moille Clia fós tá chóir ag tasla watch like a lá daoine ar éineos. There's not that much to do. Níl mór an rudí le déanamh in comparison to other countries. A gomráid le tíortha eile. We have a fantastically beautiful country. Tá tír ten sco agin má táid ag láirt faoi áiliocht na tíre, if we're talking about the beauty of the country and how many different things there are in the countries and the sea and mountains and Arga, agus Sléifte, but a lot of them it's impossible to get to on public transport. Tá sé ansachar chun streiciú ar náit na sin ar iompar poiblí, even though we're a small country, cégur tír bheag muid. And as well as that, the public transport that we do have in places doesn't work that well. On iompar poiblí atá agin in áit na tífriúla go minic ní aibrian say rowa. You know, there's more concerns now about safety in Ireland. Tá níos mó daoine borthastócha faoi céadh sábhailte agus atá éire, especially some places in Dublin, go háirithe áit na Moille Clia. Over the last few years, they've seemingly gotten a lot worse, and there's places where you can't walk at night or even during the day. Thoughts in the initial Moille Clia agus níl tú an siúil sin I rith na híthe nó fiú orintha I rith an lei. And it just does, for me as someone who lives in Spain, and again maybe people who are actually back home in Ireland would say differently, beidir gunnearthach daoine atá actually in the gcónaí in inis dearthach siad ruding an difriúil. Ní mé cinnte, as I said at the start of the podcast, mar dúirt make tú son fud Gaeilge, I'm not the best man to speak about this. Ní mise an fear nó lad is fear chun labhairt fao seo. But it does seem to me, Factor Dumpsa, that there's a lot of negativity and just people not sure really where we're going back home in Ireland. Níl daoine cinnte cá bhfuil muid ag dul in Éireann, and you know, I'm not sure what the solution to that is, to be honest. Ní cinnte cén solution nó cén réitú atá I gceist leis sin. But yeah, the podcast has been so heavy last few weeks. I'm put Gaeilge cóibh trom le cúpla seachtain in the news with different things. I promise next week, regardless of what has happened in the world between now and then, it's come a chad a harlói sa down idir anish agus an sin. I'll try and speak about something more positive and more fun, but it's all fun. It's all, I enjoy my life. I wake up every morning. I have a great life. Bunim tatna vas ma hail. Tá saolín agam, and I'm sure most of the people listening do the same and have the same. Tá mé cinnte go bhfuil an rud céin ag an gcuid smó ta na daoine ag éisteach leis seo. And you know, sometimes, as I said a few weeks ago, mar a luí mé cúpla seachtain ó hain, if you just always read the news and, you know, believe what other people are saying in gcónaí má, tá tú go léamh na nuachta agus ag creidsimh gachar eile atá le rá ag daoine eile. If you just believe in what everybody else has to say, sometimes life can seem worse than it is, orintha bín cuma níos massa ar an saoil ná mar atá in á éire. But in terms of if you look at your actual life and what you do every day and you speak to the people around you and go out and enjoy your life, má haon tú amach agus buin tú taithne bheits the héal agus learíonn tú le daoine, you realise the real life, which is that, you know, an fearhéal agus sin cad atá I gceist leis an fearhéal, that people are actually okay and people are happy. So you'll tá daoine sásta agus tá gachar the cearcadóir. So I don't know, hopefully some of those thoughts might have been interesting for you. Like in a day, cúpla den is smuointe sin, bhí siad simul dit, and yeah, who knows what will happen in the future with Ireland and the immigration. Nílas again den a cad a harlói sa tauci leis an Imirce agus léire agus gachar eile, but we'll see, and everybody will be okay in the end by gach den a cearcadóir. So Gerald, a big thank you as always, guys, for listening. Gur míle maith if mar is connacht, guys, as éisteacht leis an show. All the usual things are all over on learnirishlonline.com, including the Black Friday sale now. So tá na gnáirí hall learnirishlonline.com. So you can head over there if you want to check out anything else Learn Irish Online has going on. So tá tú an dul an sin, má tá tú gurí éisteacht le nó féchans aon rud eile atá siúlagin ag LIO. I will talk to you next week, guys. Le ró mé live on seachtain se hugan. Goodbye and God bless. Slán agus Bannacht.